These are the top 10 general managers in the NFL, part number 2. If you missed part 1, which is 10 to 6, go check that out. To start at number 5, I have Brad Holmes. We all know it, but Brad Holmes, with the help of a lot of other people, helped set a new standard in Detroit, turn one of the most miserable organizations into one to be modeled after. And through cornerstone selections such as Aiden Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, both of their safeties, he has rebuilt this roster in just a few short years. And as if transforming the Lions wasn't impressive enough in itself, he has done it in ways that got widely criticized. Traded up for Jahmyr Gibbs, took Jack Campbell in the first round, threw the idea of positional value completely out the window. To be honest, rebuilding Detroit to where they are today compared to where they were before is probably the biggest flex that any general manager has in the NFL. At number 4, I have Brandon Beane. Similar to Brad Holmes, Brandon Beane took a mediocre organization and turned them into a year-over-year Super Bowl contender. And to be able to say that you're the guy that hand-selected one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks to ever play the sport, despite the fact that everyone told him it would be a bad idea, everyone told him there was like zero chance Josh Allen would pan out, has got to feel pretty good. But out of everything that Brandon Beane has and does do well, the one thing he is expert level at is getting ahead and staying ahead of the market. He doesn't wait around to hand out contract extensions. He gets them done early, so he gets his top players for an absolute bargain, such as Christian Benford. He's one of the best lockdown corners in football, and he didn't even have to pay over $20 million for him. Every year, we see what happens when decision makers of other organizations sit on their hands and do nothing. They end up in predicaments like the Bengals were in, or like the Cowboys constantly find themselves in. Being a Bills fan, I do think there are a lot of things you could be critical about when it comes to Brandon Beane, but the fact of the matter is, if it weren't for Patrick Mahomes, this damn team probably has a Super Bowl, so I can't be too harsh. I'm not going to spend too much time on the top 3 because this should be unanimous if we're being honest, but at 3, I do have Les Snead. This is the face of a man that's been doing it at a very high level for a very long time. He's the one that hired Sean McVay, traded for Matthew Stafford, acquired a bunch of assets to win a Super Bowl, and now somehow, after adopting the fuck them picks method, is once again back to being atop of his own conference. I think that says enough. At 2, I do have Brett Veach. When you're the GM of potentially the next greatest dynasty, you're bound to be up here. Despite not even being the general manager yet in 2017, he was the one that convinced Andy Reid, John Dorsey, the GM at that time, to trade up for Patrick Mahomes. Kind of hard to beat that. And on top of the fact that every year there are rookies out of their draft class that are making immediate impacts in their Super Bowl runs, making big plays to get them to big places. And he met quite the crossroads halfway through his career. He had to choose essentially between Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I think it's safe to say he chose pretty damn correctly. And at number 1, I have no need to try and be different. We all know who it is.